Hello dear aspirants, welcome to Epitome IAS. So we are doing the UPSC PYQ analysis and today's topic would be Union and State Legislature from the Indian Polity. So if you see here, the first question is, consider the following statements regarding a no confidence motion in India. Statement 1, there is no mention of no confidence motion in the Constitution of India. Statement 2, a motion of no confidence can be introduced in the Lok Sabha only. So if you see here in this question, they are talking about the no confidence motion. And the first statement says that there is no mention of no confidence motion in the Constitution of India. Actually, this statement is a correct statement. Why? Because the Constitution of India does not directly mention the term no confidence motion. In fact, this term is actually given indirectly by the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India says that the Council of Ministers are directly responsible to the Lok Sabha, and this is indirectly given in the the no confidence motion is indirectly given in the rules of Lok Sabha. So if you see the second statement, a motion of no confidence can be introduced in the Lok Sabha only. So this statement is actually correct. Whenever the parliament they want to pass the no confidence motion, this should only be passed in the Lok Sabha, and the Rajya Sabha does not have the provision of passing the no confidence motion. So we can say both these statements, see, it is a correct answer. Both the statements are correct. Then a no confidence motion in India is a tool used by the Lok Sabha to hold the government accountable. Even though the Constitution does not use the exact term, it allows for this motion indirectly. That's what I said. That is, the Council of Ministers, they are directly responsible to the Lok Sabha. This is the indirect term of exercising the no confidence motion given in the Constitution. But the exact no confidence motion and its procedure is directly mentioned in the rules of Lok Sabha and not in the Constitution. And how it works, how this no confidence motion works, first it is initiated in the Lok Sabha by any member. Okay, so any member of the Lok Sabha, he can introduce a no confidence motion against the Council of Ministers. Okay, but he needs at least 50 supporters from the Lok Sabha. At least 50 supporters should support this particular motion. Then only the Speaker of Lok Sabha will take this motion into consideration. Then what happens? Then the debate happens. Okay, then this no confidence motion is debated in the Lok Sabha and it is put to vote. So if the motion is admitted for the discussion, a debate takes place in the Lok Sabha. This allows the members to express their views on the government's performance. So once the debate is over, this motion is put to vote, and let's say the Lok Sabha members, they are, passing this particular motion, no confidence motion, which means the government has to resign. The government does not have the support of the Lok Sabha. So the government will be resigning after the no confidence motion has been passed. Let's say the no confidence motion is not passed. In that case, this particular motion itself is, defeated. So then what will happen? The government will be continuing. So there are two types of that is, one is vote of confidence, the other one is vote of no confidence. What is vote of confidence? If a majority of the Lok Sabha members present and voting support the government and the motion will be failing. Okay, the no confidence motion will be failing in case of vote of confidence, which means the Lok Sabha or the parliament has the support of the government. In that case, the government will be, continuing. But there is another case when the no confidence motion is passed. Okay, in that case, the government will be resigning. So if a majority of the Lok Sabha members present and voting oppose the government, the motion is passed. This indicates that the Lok Sabha has lost the confidence in the government and the Council of Ministers has to resign. The Prime Minister can advise the President to dissolve the Lok Sabha and call for fresh elections, or they can resign without a dissolution. So the next question, which one of the following is the largest committee of the Parliament? Option A, the Committee on Public Accounts. Option B, the Committee on Estimates. Option C, the Committee on Public Undertakings, and option D, the Committee on Petitions. So this is a factual question. So we have the largest committee, that is the Committee on Estimates. It has around 30 members. So when you compare it with other parliamentary committees, this committee will be having the more number of members. So that's why this particular committee, the Committee on Estimates, is called as the largest committee in the parliament. So option B is the correct answer. So these are some of the information related to the Estimates Committee. So the financial, this estimate committee is one of a financial committee, okay, that examines the estimates included in the budget presented to the parliament. So this particular estimate committee, it estimates the budget, okay. Then it has 30 members, and what you have to remember is all the members of the estimate committee are from the Lok Sabha. There is no Rajya Sabha's representation in the estimates committee. Then there is another fact, that is the members cannot be a minister. Matlab, the minister cannot be a member of this particular committee. Okay. Then it is the largest parliamentary committee in India, and the term of office is 1 year. So once a year the election will be happening, and among the Lok Sabha members they'll be having this election, and they'll be choosing 30 members to be part of this particular committee. And once 1 year is over, then again this committee is dissolved, then again election is happening, then again 30 members will be chosen. So the term of office for this particular committee is 1 year. Okay. Then the origin, if you see here, the origin of the estimates committee is will go back to 1921. Okay. In 1921 what happened was, so in 1921 a standing finance committee, it was set up. Okay, so this is the origin of the estimates committee. But after independence in 1950, we have actually set up the estimates committee. Okay, so there are some of the limitations for the estimates committee. It does not have absolute power. So what are these limitations? Let us have a look. The power to examine the budget estimates is not an absolute one. The committee can only examine the budget after it is voted upon and not before that. So what they are saying is, yes, this estimate committee has the power to examine the budget, but this estimation or this examination of budget is happening after the budget is put to vote, not before the vote. Okay, so this is one of the limitation. Then we have now nowhere the power to question the policies of the parliament has been conferred upon the committee. So the committee does not have the power, to examine the policies of the government. Okay, whatever the government's policies, the committee does not have the power to examine the policies. It only has the power to examine the budget, that too only after the budget is put to vote, not before the voting. Then the third point is, all the recommendations made by the committee are advisory in nature and not binding to the parliament. So whatever this committee, it advises, it is advisory in nature. Okay, it can only make a recommendation, and this particular recommendation is not binding on the parliament. So it is up to the parliament whether to take it or not to take it. Okay, so this is one of the major limitation which this particular committee has. Then in a year, the committee does not examine the budgets of all the departments or all the ministries. So it will be just choosing few ministries or few departments, and it will be examining the budget of only those few ministries or the few departments. It will not examine all the ministries or all the departments. This is also one of a limitation. Then we have next question. Which one of the following schedules of the Constitution of India contains provision regarding anti-defection? So second schedule, fifth schedule, 8th schedule, and 10th schedule. So this is one of the basic question, factual. So anti-defection law, it is mentioned in the 10th schedule of the Constitution. So the correct answer is option D, 10th schedule. So in the 10th schedule, they have mentioned about the, some of the defections. Why this 10th schedule has been added in the Constitution is to prevent, the politicians from switching political parties after getting elected, and also to maintain the political discipline. Okay, so there are some of the grounds of defection which are mentioned in this particular act. So what are the grounds of defection? One is joining a different political party after getting elected. Let's say a member of a parliament or a member of a state legislative assembly, he is getting elected from a political party, but after getting elected he is switching the political party and he is joining some other political party. So then what will happen? He will be disqualified under the anti-defection law. Then next case is if an elected member voluntarily give up his membership of a political party. Let's say a member, he got elected from a political party, but after getting elected he is giving up his membership voluntarily, then also he'll be disqualified. Okay, then voting against the party whip, that is the party's head, in a trust vote or a no confidence motion. So whenever the party whip, he'll be giving some instruction to the other members of the parliament belonging to that political party. These members have to vote what the political the party whip says. Okay, they can't go against the party whip. So if they are going against the party whip, then also they'll be disqualified under the anti-defection law. Okay, so this is also there. Whenever there is a case of a vote, trust vote and a no confidence motion is passed. Trust vote is nothing but whenever the government, it is the government is forming, it has to show that it has the majority support in the Lok Sabha or in the parliament. So this is a trust vote and it is similar to the no confidence motion. Okay, then if any independently elected members joins any political party, let's say a member, he got elected as an independent member, he does not belong to any political party before getting elected, but after getting elected he is joining any political party, then also he will be disqualified under the anti-defection law. Then if any nominated member joins any political party after the expiry of 6 months, so whenever a nominated member, he has an option to join any political party before the 6 months, okay, of getting nominated. But if he's joining any political party after the 6 month, he'll be disqualified under the anti-defection law. Okay, so these are some of the grounds of defection mentioned in the anti-defection law, and there are some exceptions for the disqualification. What are these exceptions? One is in case of a merger, let's say an entire political party is joining with another political party. In case of this merger, there is no disqualification. There is another case that, let's say, there is a merger happening and 2/3 of the political party is joining the another political party, then also this merger is not disqualified. These people are not disqualified. Okay, whenever there is a 2/3 of the political party, they are together joining another political party, there is no disqualification. Okay, then we have conscience vote. What is this conscience vote? In rare cases, what will happen? Let's say there is some sort of voting is happening and it needs some, it is a matter of conscience. In that case, what will happen? Even though the party whip, he is giving some instruction, okay, but the member who belong to that political party, he want to vote against that particular party whip, then what will happen? He have to write, he have to get permission from the speaker or the chairman of the particular, house beforehand, and if he is getting this permission from the speaker or the chairman, then he can vote against the party's whip. Then there is no issue, then he'll not be disqualified. So these are some of the rare cases where the matter is of conscience. Only in that matter, people can vote against the party whip, that too only with written permission from the speaker or chairman. Then next question, consider the following statements. First statement, the chairman and the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha are not the members of that house. Statement 2, while the nominated members of the two houses of the parliament have no voting right in the presidential election, they have the right to vote in the election of vice president. So the first statement says that the chairman and the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha, they are not members of that house. So whenever you read about the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the chairman of the Rajya Sabha is the vice president of India. So we know that the vice president of India is not the member of Rajya Sabha. So we can say that the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, he is not the member of Rajya Sabha. But in case of a deputy chairman, he is actually the member of Rajya Sabha. Okay, he is chosen among the member of Rajya Sabha by the election. The members of Rajya Sabha, they will be voting this particular deputy chairman. So technically, this deputy chairman belong to the Rajya Sabha. So what they are saying in the first statement, chairman and the deputy chairman, they both are not the members of Rajya Sabha. This is wrong. Why? Because only the chairman is not the member of Rajya Sabha, but the deputy chairman is the member of Rajya Sabha. Then statement 2, while the nominated members of two houses of the parliament have no voting right in the presidential election. So the first half of the statement says that the nominated members of the parliament has no no voting right in the presidential election. Is that true? Yes, this part of a statement, first part of the statement is correct. Why? Because in the presidential election, the nominated members are not going to take place. And if you see the second part of the statement, it says that they have the right to vote in the election of vice president. Is that true? Yes, the nominated members can take part in the election of the vice president. So if you see the electoral college of the president, will have the elected members of parliament, and we have the elected members of state legislative assembly, along with the elected members of the union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. Okay, only the elected members, they are taking part in the president's election. Okay, but in case of a election of a vice president, the electoral college consists of all the members of the parliament, both in Rajya Sabha, in Lok Sabha, all the members, both nominated members and the elected members, they take part in the election of the vice president. So let us say this statement is correct statement. First statement is a wrong statement. So the correct answer would be B, only 2. So if you see here, the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, that is the upper house, is the vice president of India. They hold this position by virtue of their office, but they are not considered as a member of Rajya Sabha. So this chairman of the Rajya Sabha is technically the vice president of India, and he is not the member of the Rajya Sabha. This means they cannot vote in the regular proceedings. This is also there. In regular proceeding, the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, he does not have the voting right. But in case of a deputy chairman, he is actually elected from the members of the Rajya Sabha. Among the members of the Rajya Sabha, they get the deputy chairman is getting elected. Okay, so he is actually belonging to the Rajya Sabha. He is the member of a Rajya Sabha. So they, when the deputy chairman presides over the house, when the chairman is not available and have full voting rights like any other member. So whenever the chairman is not present, he is absent, then this particular deputy chairman will be presiding over the house. Okay, and because he is the member of the Rajya Sabha, he has voting rights just like other members. But in case of a chairman of Rajya Sabha, he does not have the voting right. Why? Because he is not the member of the Rajya Sabha. Okay, so these are the voting rights of the nominated members. So in case of a presidential election, we know that the electoral college consists of the elected members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the elected members of state legislative assemblies, along with the union territories, Delhi and Puducherry's assemblies, that too elected members, only elected members. Nominated members, they do not take part in the election of the president. But in case of a vice president's election, both members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, both nominated members, elected members, they take part in the election of the vice president. So if you see here, nominated members of both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha do not have the right to vote in the presidential election. The president is elected by a much larger electoral college comprising of elected members of the parliament and the state legislative assemblies. But in case of a vice president's election, nominated members can vote in the election of the vice president. This is because the vice president is selected by a smaller electoral college consisting only of the members of both the houses of parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, both elected members and nominated members. Okay, then next question, what will follow if a money bill is substantially amended by the Rajya Sabha? Option A, the Lok Sabha may still proceed with the bill accepting or not accepting the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha. Option B, the Lok Sabha cannot consider the bill further. Option C, the Lok Sabha may send the bill to the Rajya Sabha for reconsideration. Option D, the President may call a joint sitting for the passing of the bill. So they are talking about the money bill here, and they are saying what will happen if a money bill is substantially amended by the Rajya Sabha. So in the last class we were talking about the money bill. Okay, when a money bill is passed in the Lok Sabha, it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. Then what are the options the Rajya Sabha has? First of all, the Rajya Sabha does not have the power to amend or to reject the bill. Okay, technically in the question they are using a word amended by the Rajya Sabha. So here we should think that this is not amendment, they are recommending. Let's say the Rajya Sabha made some recommendation. Okay, then what the Lok Sabha has the options? What are the options the Lok Sabha has? That's what they are asking. Technically, Rajya Sabha does not have the power to amend or to reject the money bill. So here in the question they've given this term amended. So in essence we can say this is a recommendation. When the Rajya Sabha has recommended, against the money bill, then what will the Lok Sabha do? That's what they are asking. They are not really asking about the amendment because Rajya Sabha does not have the power to amend the money bill. Okay, so whenever the money bill is transmitted to Rajya Sabha and the Rajya Sabha made some recommendation, then what are the options the Lok Sabha has? Simply the Lok Sabha can either accept those recommendation or simply reject those recommendation. In both the cases, it's up to the Lok Sabha. Okay, the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha are not binding on the Lok Sabha. So the Lok Sabha has a free hand whether to accept or whether to reject the recommendations made by the Rajya Sabha. So if you see option A says that the Lok Sabha may still proceed with the bill accepting or not accepting the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha. This is the correct answer. Why? Because whenever the Rajya Sabha makes a recommendation of the money bill, the Lok Sabha can either accept or without accepting also it can proceed with the bill. The bill will be considered as a passed in both the houses. Okay, in case of a money bill. Then, so if you see here, the money bill deals with the government revenue and expenditure. Okay, both government's revenue and expenditure. Example, we can say taxes, budgets and financial proposals. They have special status and require quicker passage compared to regular bill. That's why in case of a money bill, we have some special provision given to the Lok Sabha. Like the money bill can only be introduced in Lok Sabha and it cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. And whenever the money bill get transmitted to Rajya Sabha, the Rajya Sabha cannot amend or cannot reject the money bill. It can only make recommendation to the Lok Sabha, and it is up to the Lok Sabha whether to accept those recommendation or whether to reject those recommendation, and whatever the Lok Sabha wants it can do. Okay, in case of a money bill, the Lok Sabha has the upper hand, and also before the introduction of a money bill, the prior recommendation of the president is also needed. Okay, so this is there. But in case of a Rajya Sabha, it has a limited power. Unlike regular bills, the Rajya Sabha cannot reject a money bill. It cannot also amend the money bill. It can only make recommendations. Okay. Then, however, Rajya Sabha can still participate in the process by making recommendations for the amendments to the money bill and these recommendations are suggestions sent to the Lok Sabha for their consideration, and the Lok Sabha has ultimate authority regarding the money bill, either to accept the recommendation or to reject the recommendation. Whatever the Lok Sabha wants, it can do. Then next question, the parliament can make any law for whole or any part of India for implementing international treaties. Option A, with the consent of all the states. Option B, with the consent of majority of the states. Option C, with the consent of states concerned. And option D, without the consent of any states. So there are some cases where the parliament can actually, make laws in the state list. One of such cases, when the parliament want to implement some international treaties, in that case the parliament can make law in the state list without the consent of any states. Why? Let's say the parliament is going for the consent of the different states, then what will happen? The process will be delayed, first of all, because it will be a complicated process, because every state is needed to be, approving of this particular thing. And second is, when there is a disagreement, when some of the states are not accepting this particular thing, then also there will be a deadlock. So to prevent this, in case of an international treaty, so these international treaty are done between some international organizations or some other, countries to with India, okay, with the union government. So if you are involving the state government, then there will be a deadlock or the delay will be happening. So that's why in this case, whenever there is a implementation of international treaties, the parliament does not have to get the consent of any state. It can directly make laws regarding the international treaties. So option D is the correct answer. So if you see here why this power exists, international treaties are the agreements between India and other countries or India and other international organizations. So these treaties cover a wide range of topics such as trade, defense, human rights, and environmental protection. For India to upload its obligations under these treaties, it might need to enact new laws or modify existing laws. So, what is the benefit of no state consent? So, there are some benefits to not get the consent of the states. What are these benefits? One is requiring state by state approval for implementing the treaties would be a slow and complicating process. So, when you are requiring the consent from every state, it will be a very slow process, and also it will delay the implementation of the international treaties. So that is one reason. Then delays or disagreements from the individual states could hinder India's ability to fulfill its international commitments. So one is delay of the procedure, the another is a disagreement. When some states are disagreeing to this particular treaty or to this particular acts, then what will happen? India cannot fulfill the needs that is needed in the international commitment in that treaty. Okay, so this is also one of the reason. Then this provision ensures a centralized and streamlined approach to implementing treaties across the nation. So when parliament is making law without the consent of the states, then it will be a centralized law. Okay, there will be no difference between different states. It will be a centralized law. Okay, that is also one of the reason. Then parliament can legislate laws on state list. So as I told you, there are some cases where the parliament has the power to legislate laws from the state list. Okay, what are these cases? First cases, in case of an emergency, when there is a national emergency, or let's say we have a president rule. Okay, we have president rule. So in both the cases, the parliament can enact laws in the state list. Okay, then other case would be when two or more states pass a resolution to have parliamentary law on any item listed in the state list. So let us say 2 or more states, they are passing a resolution and asking the parliament to make law from a particular subject mentioned in the state list. Then the parliament can go and make that particular law. Okay, this is also another case. And we have another case that the parliament can make laws on items in the state list when Rajya Sabha passes resolution by two-third majority of present and voting. So when in case of a national interest, the Rajya Sabha can actually pass a resolution so with two-third majority of present and voting. So when the Rajya Sabha passes this particular resolution, then the parliament will acquire the power to make laws in the mentioned in the state list. Okay, this is done only in the case of national interest. So in case of national interest, the Rajya Sabha can pass this resolution to give the power to the parliament to make laws in the state list. Then the next question, consider the following statements. The Parliamentary Committee on Public Accounts 1. Consists of not more than 25 members of Lok Sabha. 2. Scrutinizes appropriation and finance accounts of the government. 3. Examines the report of the Controller and Auditor General of India. So if you see here, the first statement says here that the Parliamentary Committee on Public Accounts, it consists of 25 members. So this is actually wrong. Why? Because it consists of only 22 members, not 25 members. So this statement is actually wrong. And also what they are saying is of Lok Sabha. No, this particular committee has both the members from Lok Sabha and from the Rajya Sabha. And in total, it can have up to 22 members. Okay, not more than 22 members. But in the question, they have given 25 members. So we can eliminate this option. Then, once you eliminate this option, option A, option D is gone. And if you see statement 2, it scrutinizes appropriation and finance account of the government. Yes, the major purpose of this particular committee, the Committee on Public Account, is to scrutinize, to examine the accounts, the appropriation account and the finance account of the government. So this is the one of the purpose of the committee. This is there. Then examines the report of the Controller and Auditor General of India. Yes, this is also one of the functions of this committee. Okay, it examines the report of the Controller and Auditor General of India. So these two are there. So option B, 2 and 3 is the correct answer. So these are the functions of the Public Accounts Committee. So the Public Accounts Committee's primary responsibility is to scrutinize the appropriation account and the finance account of the government of India. In simpler terms, it examines how the government has to spend the money allocated to it by the parliament through the budget. So this involves whether the funds were spent for the intended purpose, whether there were any instances of wasteful expenditure or misuse of funds, and how efficiently different government departments are utilizing their allocated resources. So this Public Accounts Committee, its major purpose is to examine whether the funds allocated by the parliament to the government, whether it is used in a correct manner, okay, whether there is any misuse of the funds or whether there is any wasteful expenditure done by the government. So these are the things which the Public Accounts Committee will be examining. Okay, then it will also say how efficiently different government departments they have spent their particular funds. So this is also one of their function. So the size and composition of Public Accounts Committee is, it should not contain the member, it should not consist no more than 22 members. Okay, so the total members can be 22 members, not more than 22 members for the Public Accounts Committee, and it has a maximum of 15 members from the Lok Sabha and 7 members from the Rajya Sabha. So it has both the members from Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. It does not have members only from the Lok Sabha. as given in the first statement. So that is there. Then next question, a deadlock between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha calls for a joint sitting of a parliament during the passage of ordinary legislation, money bill, constitutional amendment bill. So they are talking about the joint sitting. So as we know, the joint sitting happens when there is a disagreement between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha regarding a passage of any bill. And this bill is only in the case of an ordinary bill. In case of ordinary legislation, when there is a disagreement between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, then the president will call for the joint sitting. Okay, so one is there, yes. Then money bill. In case of money bill, there is no provision for joint sitting. Why? Let's say when the Lok Sabha has passed the bill and it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha, the Rajya Sabha does not have any power. Okay, it can only make recommendation. It does not have any other power. It can't amend or it cannot reject the bill. Okay, once it make a recommendation and it's up to the Lok Sabha whether to accept or reject the recommendation. So anyway, this particular bill will be considered passed in both the houses. Let's say the Rajya Sabha is not at all reacting. Okay, in that case also after 14 days, after the expiry of 14 days, this bill is considered to be passed in both the houses. Okay, so in any case, the Lok Sabha has a upper hand. So there is no need for a joint sitting in case of a money bill. And also there is no provision for joint sitting in case of a money bill. So we can eliminate the 2. So once you eliminate 2, you are left with only 2 options here. And if you see 3, that is the constitutional amendment bill. So whenever you read about the constitutional amendment bill, they clearly mention that in case of a constitutional amendment bill, there is no provision for a joint sitting. Once any of the house, either Rajya Sabha or the Lok Sabha, it does not want to pass that particular bill, then that particular bill is considered to be failed. Okay, there is no provision for joint sitting in case of a constitutional amendment bill. So this is also gone option A. Only 1 is the correct answer. So if you see here, in case of a ordinary legislation, when there is a disagreement between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha on a regular bill and neither house is willing to budge, a joint sitting can be called. Okay, so when there is a disagreement and there is a deadlock and neither house is ready to pass that particular bill, but this bill is an important bill which has to be passed. Okay, in that case the parliament calls for the joint sitting of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. They sit together and they'll be again discussing and try to pass this particular bill with simple majority. In case of an ordinary bill, just like in both the houses, it needs simple majority. In case of joint sitting also, it just needs simple majority. Okay, then this allows both the houses to come together and vote on the bill as a single unit. If a simple majority of members present and voting in the sitting approve the bill, it is considered pass. Yes, with simple majority, if they pass the bill, then it will be considered as passed in both the houses. So in case of money bill, a joint sitting is not used for money bills. The Rajya Sabha has limited power and they can only make a recommendation, but the Lok Sabha has a final say. So in case of a money bill, the Lok Sabha has a upper hand. Anyway, this bill is going to be considered passed in both the houses, right? So इसलिए they does not need the provision for joint sitting in case of a money bill. Then constitutional amendment bill. Amending the constitution is a more complex and requiring a special majority in both the houses separately. So constitutional amendment is one of a complicated process. In majority of the cases, it needs special majority in both the houses, in Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Okay, so there is no provision for joint sitting. In case of a disagreement, okay, in case of a disagreement between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, in the constitutional amendment bill, there is no provision for joint sitting. Okay. And if the two houses cannot reach an agreement, the amendment proposal fails. Okay. So that's all with today's class. Thank you, students.